Good morning. Welcome to the online web seminar on the THP Plus Participant Tracking System. This is Michelle Burns. I'm the project manager for the THP Plus statewide implementation project at the John Burton Foundation. And I'm very pleased to announce this morning that the THP Plus Participant Tracking System is now live and will be accessible to all approved users after they have completed a training. This training today is provided by the THP Plus Statewide Implementation Project, which is a collaboration between the John Burton Foundation, the California Department of Social Services, and the Corporation for Supportive Housing. The project's goal is to increase access to THP Plus through training and technical assistance, advocacy, and evaluation. Today's web seminar focuses specifically on the evaluation component of the project. To access the webinar this morning, there's a few steps that you need to follow. So after registering, you should have received an email with a link to the training. To access the audio portion, you have the option of using the speakers on your computer or selecting telephone, the telephone option, and the call-in number appears here on the screen, 484-589-1010, and your access code is 510-922-874. After signing into the web seminar, you will be presented with a personalized audio pin, and you will enter that as well into the telephone after entering your access code, and that will give you the ability to listen to the presentation. At the end of the training, and actually midway through the training as well, we're going to be responding to your questions about the system. So if at any point during the training a question comes up for you, please click on the question and answer arrow on your screen, type in your question, and click send. And we will do our best to answer all of the questions during the training portion. So this training today is designed specifically for certified THP Plus providers. And I'm very pleased to say that today we're joined by over 30 providers from throughout the state. Others that are interested in the system are also participating today, but the information is going to be really targeted at what's going to be relevant for THP Plus providers using the system. So let's go over what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to provide a little bit of background of the system, reviewing its features and its users, provide information on how you can access the system, including some important dates for data entry. We'll provide a detailed demonstration of the system, discuss some upcoming features which will be available, including summary reports, and let you know what kind of training and support will be available for you from the John Burton Foundation, and of course try to answer as many questions as we can in the time allowed. And today, in addition to myself, we will be joined by Josh Senyak, who is the president of Quicksilver Consulting, the consulting firm which developed the participant tracking system. And Josh has 20 years of experience working with nonprofit and public agencies to develop customized databases such as this. So he'll be speaking a bit later about the security features of the system. Let's start with some context for the participant tracking system. As I said, the John Burton Foundation is a partner with the Department of Social Services and Corporation for Supportive Housing in the THP Plus statewide implementation project. And as part of that project, we are interested in making sure that THP Plus programs are of the highest quality and are helping to meet the needs of its young adult participants. So this system really grew out of a recognition of the need for a statewide data system that will measure the effectiveness of THP Plus programs around the state. In an effort to be able to compare this data with other data collected about this population, we pulled certain data elements from several sources, including the new Emancipation Report, the ILP Narrative Report, the Chafee Data Elements, and the California Connected by 25 Initiative database. The system was designed in close consultation with the Department of Social Services and with both county and provider stakeholders. We shared the data elements with all three stakeholder groups throughout the development process and incorporated their input throughout. We also, I want to make sure you are aware, are certainly open to ongoing improvements, and so we encourage you to submit your questions and comments as you start to use the system. We're sure that We're very confident that the system is quite functional as it is, but of course, as we start to use it, we are very open to improving it as well. So on an ongoing basis, we'll be evaluating these suggestions and determining the improvements that can be incorporated. And in terms of a longer-term strategy, we're working with CDSS right now towards our common goal of transferring the system to CDSS administration. Before moving on to discuss the system features, I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank all of you who have completed paper forms and mailed those to us. We had a great response from providers throughout the state that are clearly eager to use the system, and we really appreciate all of the time and effort that you've put in to collecting those forms and to getting those to us after the completion of the first quarter of the fiscal year, which ended on September 30th. So let's just go over some of the basic features of the system. The participant tracking system is a web-based database. It collects participant-level data at the time that they enter THP+, at quarterly intervals, at the time that they exit the program, and then 6 and 12 months after the participant has exited the program. And this system is free for all approved users. So who are the approved users? Well, basically, the system is designed for certified THP Plus providers, THP Plus counties, so any county with an operating THP Plus program. It's also available if a county is not mandating the use of the system. Providers are more than welcome to use the system on their own. And for counties that are participating in the family-to-family initiative, the same information can be tracked in ETO through their California Connected by 25 initiative reports. And then that information will be merged with the data from our system to be analyzed together. And just again to emphasize how important it is for programs, all THP Plus programs to participate either in this or in ETO to really be able to get a statewide snapshot of how effective the program is and to demonstrate the impact on an ongoing basis. So let's talk about how you can get started. In addition to this training, what all agencies need to do is sign and return a use agreement to the John Burton Foundation. And those use agreements are specific to either providers or to counties. And we've received those from most of the agencies participating in today's training, but if for some reason you have not yet completed that use agreement, that does need to be returned to us before you can use the system. We then need to have at least one representative from all agencies participate in either an in-person training or a web training such as today. And after that, counties and providers will receive one password-protected login per agency. And we will discuss this process in more detail a little bit later in the training. And with that, I'm very pleased to turn it over to our database developer, Josh Senyak of Quicksilver Consulting, who I introduced earlier. And he's going to review the security and privacy features of the system. So you just want to put this on, talk directly into the microphone and into the headpiece. You can sit here, and then I'll just unmute it.
Okay.
And I'll just scroll down this.
Okay.
Works for you.
Yep. Hello. Hello? Are we online? Yeah. Hello. Okay. So.
Okay. So you just need to pretend you're doing a presentation.
Okay.
But they're not going to respond. Okay.
Yeah. Hi. So I've been told that if I don't hear anybody talking, that's the way things are supposed to be. So I'm going to talk as if I can see all your smiling faces this morning. Thank you, Michelle. My name is Josh Senyak. I worked very hard with the great team at John Burton Foundation to develop the web-based database that you're going to be working with. And I wanted to run through with all of you some of the security features that have been put into the system to make sure that the participant information remains confidential. So the first point, as you see on the screen, is that the system does not collect the social security number, license numbers, addresses, or phone numbers of the participants. However, we do need to be concerned about confidentiality of participant information because there's name and date of birth information on the system, and that of course does need to be protected. So what are the features by which the system protects that information? First of all, to use the system, users must have a valid login and password. Those passwords can be reset as needed. So if somebody is leaving the organization and just want to make sure that that person, having left the organization, isn't using the system anymore, it's very simple to reset the password so that only the people who should have access to the account will have access. The system does assign permissions according to the... Sorry? Was there something? I've been told there's a break in the voice. I think Michelle's working with the...
Okay, so maybe what we should do is take it off headset.
Should I be talking to the phone at the same time, into the microphone? Hi, I'm hoping this is working better. I was told that there was some problems with the use of the microphone. So the way the system works is that permissions are assigned according to the user type, according to the particular county, and according to the service provider of the account which is assigned to the user. So if somebody is coming from a particular county as a county level user, that person can only see participants served in that county. And I should also point out, can make no changes to the data, can read data only. If a user is a service provider level, that user can only see the data for participants and change the data for participants within that particular service provider organization. So putting the data into the system does not mean it's then available to everybody who uses the system. It's only available to people who should be able to see and revise that information. Another security feature is that data is encrypted between the server and the browser using the HTTPS protocol. If you've maybe have noticed in certain applications you've used on the web, if you're going to a bank or an airline or using a credit card, for example, you'll see a little lock in usually the lower right hand if you're using Firefox, for example. That means that the HTTPS protocol is being used, which just means that it's encrypted over the wire. If for any reason anybody did want to spy on the traffic between you and the server, they would not be able to. One more added security precaution, the system automatically ends sessions that have been open for too long, so that, again, a strategy that hackers sometimes use trying to get to protected information on a website. We're trying to guess the IDs of sessions. I really do not think this is likely to happen in our system, but just in case, there is a feature. So you'll notice under some circumstances, particularly if the system is under heavy use, if you've left your system on for, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, you may find the system has said, we've logged you off because it's been open too long. Please log on again. A minor inconvenience, I hope. Let me see. I think the overall, we've tried to over-engineer this. I do not think anybody is going to be trying to use this system. If they were trying to get this information, this is not how they would go about it. We've just tried to make sure that if this would not be the way somebody would try to get information if for some odd reason they did want to get participants' information. I think that's it. I would like to be able to take questions, Michelle, if there are any. Would that be at the end of this, or is there a way to ask now? Okay, Michelle says there's an opportunity for questions about 10 minutes, so I'll be on hand in case anybody has any questions. So we're looking forward to seeing your thoughts about this and very eager to make this a really good user experience for you. I hope it is. Okay, Michelle, I'm going to give this back to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. Now that we've reviewed the overall security and privacy features that are available through the system, there also are some user safeguards that everyone should be keeping in mind that will also serve to help protect the data. And these are kind of common sense protections that we just want to review with people that you may already be implementing with other data collection resources that you use for your other programs. And there are really three main things. Again, these are the responsibility of all people who are using the system. The first is to maintain the secrecy of your login and password at all times. You don't want to be putting it up on a big bulletin board in your office. You want to keep it in a secure place to, again, maintain the privacy of the participants. You want to log off whenever your session is complete, and when we do the demo of the site, we will show you how to do that. And the last one is just to keep your computers updated at all times with antivirus software, software updates, and security patches. So those are three relatively straightforward things that you can do as a user to also additionally add some safeguards to the system. So as we mentioned earlier, and as Josh just discussed, there's two primary access levels for users. There's the service provider, which is the focus of this particular web seminar, which gives you access to enter and read data on all participants that are served by your program. So you will not be able to see any data on participants served by any other programs or in other counties in THP+. And then the county in which you have a contract will also be able to see the data that you enter, but they will not be able to change or enter any data. So this is important because this will assist counties in their ongoing monitoring capacity. They will be able to determine on a quarterly basis how many participants are in your program, what their retention rate, and be able to monitor progress in that way as well. Now, after you complete this training, each agency is going to receive a login and password. This is going to be sent via email to the primary contact person for your THP Plus program. If you are a service provider that has contracts with multiple counties, you will receive a separate login and password for each contract. So for example, we have a fictional provider, Alpine House, which has a contract in both Alpine County and a separate one in Butte. And let's say you have the same person at Alpine House who's actually going to be managing the data entry for both contracts. That person is going to receive one email, and in it will have a login and password that specifically says Alpine House, Alpine County, and the corresponding login and password. And they'll receive a second email with a different login and password that specifically says Alpine House, Butte County. So that way, by just keeping up to date with that information, you will be able to manage the participant data for your particular contracts. And if you represent one of the counties that is both a county and the THP Plus provider, you'll receive one login as a county user, again, which just read-only access, and a separate login as the service provider. And again, that'll be spelled out in the email that you receive. So now let's talk about the best way to collect participant data. This should be collected by case managers in conversation with youth participants. This can be done in one of two ways. It can either be collected on the paper forms and then entered into the system by program staff, or entered directly into the system by program staff, as you're having the conversation with the young person. Let's now review when you collect and enter participant data into the system. So as I said at the beginning, the information that you collect is based on the point in time of program enrollment, when the young person enters THP Plus, at the end of each quarter. So it's not a quarter after they entered. It's at the end of the quarter based on the fiscal year, at program exit, and then at 6 and 12 months after leaving the program. The quarterly reporting dates are September 30th. Again, looking at the start of the fiscal year is July 1st. September 30th, December 31st, March 31st, and June 30th. And reports are due on the 15th of the month after the end of the quarter. So in practical terms, what that means for you is that the next deadline is Thursday, January 15th to enter data for the quarter ending December 31st. Now here let's look at just a sample data entry timeline. And we're going to take a fictional participant, Amanda Jones, who just has entered the program in July of 2008. So at that point, you will have filled out an entrance form. And that, in this case, what you probably did is mailed us that entrance form, which we'll then enter into the system. At the end of the quarter, which ends on September 30th, you're going to complete a quarterly update form into the system. You'll do that again at the end of December, or by January 15th. Again at the end of March, so by April 15th. And then again at the end of June, so by July 15th. And then let's say that Amanda exits the program in August of 2009. At that point, you will complete an exit form for her. And then 6 months after exiting, In March, you'll complete the 6-month follow-up form, and then in September of 2010, you will complete the 12-month follow-up form. So that's just a walkthrough of kind of the sample data collection timeline for this particular participant. So now before going on to the actual site demo, I did want to take a 5 to 10 minutes to really answer any particular questions that may have come up in my presentation or in Josh's presentation about the overall system, the data collection process, anything that's not directly related to the technical aspects of the site, which we'll be presenting. One question we've received is that we have a provider that is interested in using the system but has not yet returned a use agreement, and they want to know if it is too late to still participate. And it is definitely not still too late. I would just say please get in touch with us. Our contact information will, of course, be available at the end of the presentation, and we will send you a copy of the use agreement to have signed and returned to us. Another question that we got is if a participant can enter their data directly. If they can just, be given the username and password and just enter their own data since they know that the best. And that is a definite no. The information should be completed in partnership with the young person. That you should be getting this data directly from the participant, but the data should be entered by program staff, not by the participants. So the login and password should definitely not be shared with participants or anyone beyond the people who will be directly entering data. Anything else that you think we definitely need? No? Okay.
Yes. If staff changes, should contact you at this point?
Another question or point that we would like to make is if a staff person who right now is the primary person, or if any staff person who had access to the login and password leaves the agency, what should the agency do? At this point, what you should do is contact us. So contact me, Michelle Burns at the John Burton Foundation, and we will reset the password. So that means that the person who has left the agency will no longer have access to that data because the old login and password will no longer work. So that's another protection. So it is important at this point to make sure to tell us if there is someone who no longer works at the agency, who did have access to the login and password. You want to make sure to let us know, and we can reset it with a very quick step and get that to you immediately. So now with that, what I'd like to do is really start taking a look at the site, and you can see what it really looks like. So what you should have in front of you right now is the website for THP+data.org. So you should see that in your web browser, that is the web address. And as Josh said, it's an HTTPS address to encrypt the data. And you'll also see up next to the web browser this lock here, which also shows that it is a secure site. What I'm going to do right now is log in. So let's say I'm a new service provider. I've filled out my use agreement, mailed it into the John Burton Foundation, and completed this web seminar. So within the next week, I'm going to be emailed a login and password. And so I'm going to just enter that right now. And as you'll see, when I enter the password, it does not show up on the screen. So it is another protection for you. And here's what we'll see. So let's first just take a look at the screen layout. So as you'll see, we're on the main menu for Michelle Burns, and it says Alpine House. So again, this is a fictional provider, Alpine House, in Alpine County, and which actually at this point does not have a THP Plus program. But just to give you a sense of what this looks like. And so again, if you are one of the providers that has a contract in multiple counties, this is a good opportunity. If it was a different, actually on the next page it will give us that check to make sure that it is the right county. So here it says main menu for Michelle Burns, Alpine House. In the top left corner, that is the system navigation bar, and as you'll see, we're on the main menu. And then if you go up to the upper right, you'll see there's a log off button, a button to get you back to the main menu, and a Get Help button. And on every screen, you will see these 3 features. So at any point from any screen, you can click Log Off, you can return to the main menu, or you can Get Help. And the Get Help screen is going to be specific to the particular screen of the system that you are on. So when you're actually entering data, there'll be line-by-line instructions for how to complete the forms. Now, the system is organized for service providers so that every participant record includes the name of the participant's case manager. And as we said, because data should be collected by the THP Plus case managers in conversation with the youth, this mechanism allows agencies to keep track of who is responsible for collecting data on a particular participant. So because I am just now entering data for a new participant, Amanda Jones, I want to make sure that her case manager is always in the system. That's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to go to the Administrative Options function and click on that. And again, I want to see if her case manager is here. And as you'll see, the system navigation bar shows that we are on the Administration menu. So that way, just as a check to see where we are. You're going to click Maintain Case Managers. And let's say that Bill Smith is her case manager. I do not see him here. We have Adam Smith and we have John Deere. So what I'm going to do is on this, I'm going to click an orange Create button and enter Bill Smith, and then click Create. And as you'll see, the active box is, the default is to have it checked. And because we know that he is her case manager and is active right now, we'll leave that checked. We'll click Save. It confirms that the changes have been saved. And then we're going to click Finished. And at this point, as you can see, now it lists Bill Smith as a case manager for Alpine House. Now what we want to do is really collect data on Amanda. So what we're going to do is go back to the main menu by clicking. We can either click here or in the upper right on main menu. And we're going to click on Find or Create a Participant Record. And the way the system is set up is in order to prevent duplicate names in the system, it requires you to search for a participant before you enter them. So in this case, I know her name's Amanda Jones, but let's say I'm worried that someone else entered the data and they spelled her name wrong. So I'm just going to look for all participants with the last name that begins with J. And what I see is that only Brian Jameson is in the system. Amanda Jones is not here. Brian Jameson is another fictional participant for Alpine House. So what I'm going to do is click Create to create the new participant. And here what I'm going to do is enter her legal first name and her legal last name. There's no need to do a middle name. Her date of birth is February 8th, 1988. And her THP Plus enrollment date, she actually entered in August. And let's say I click it, I do it like this, where I say 8/30/08. Because that's the way I usually, that's just how I usually write dates, and I try to create it. It's going to prompt me to collect a valid date for the participant's enrollment to the program. So using this valid date format of 08/30/2008. And once I do that, I click Create. Now what we see is that we are going to be brought to the participant overview screen. And again, the top left navigation bar tells you that we're at the participant overview screen. There's 3 fields at the top that says her name, her date of birth, her enrollment date, and also has a space for when she exits the program. So, and now that we know that her case manager is Bill Smith, we're going to enter him in there. We see that Alpine House is the name of the agency serving Amanda Jones. And now we can just start filling out the data. So what I'm going to do is walk through each form, and I'll just draw your attention to some questions in particular. So here, if you know her, and this, for those of you who have done the paper forms, this will look very, very familiar. So we already have her name, we have her date of birth. If we know her CWS CMS Client ID number, we enter that. The next question asks if the participant is unable to be located and lost to follow-up. That's if, we'll revisit that later down the line, but if a participant is in the program and then goes AWOL and you can't find them, or after leaving the program, you don't have their contact information, you'll go back and click that box. We know that at the time of emancipation, Amanda actually was in Alpine County. She was not an ILP-eligible probation ward. She was purely child welfare, so we're not going to click that button. We know that she is female. In terms of LGBTQ, we're going to leave that unknown or decline to answer. And now questions 10 or 11. These relate to race and ethnicity, and these are directly from the census categories. So what you'll do is you will ask the participant if they are of Hispanic or Latino ethnicity. In this case, she is not. And then for the race category, which you want to complete as well, in addition to question 10, you want to select all categories that apply. And again, this is specific to how the participant self-identifies. So in this case, Amanda has identified herself as Black or African American. And now what we will do is click Save. Now that this information has been saved, and we want to click on the Forms tab. Here we are brought to the overall forms page, and as you can see, the forms for this participant that have been completed so far, or that have been started, is the entrance form. When you complete the participant overview, an entrance form is automatically created. I'm going to click on that. And here what you'll see again is it has Amanda's her name and her date of birth. And it starts with question number 12 because the first 11 questions were completed on the participant overview form. So let's go through these questions and so that we can address any outstanding questions. So date of enrollment in the THP Plus program has already been completed. Question 13 asks if the participant is re-entering THP Plus after previously exiting this THP Plus program. So if you know that Amanda was actually in a different THP Plus program in another county, you're still going to leave this blank, which means no. If Amanda was already in this program, you're going to click that for yes. Every time that a participant enters your program, even if they have actually entered and exited your program in the past, you're going to treat them as a new client and complete an entirely new entrance form for them. We know that she is not, she has no children, so she is not a custodial parent. Prior to moving into the THP Plus program, she actually, we know, was in an emergency shelter. So that's how you're going to answer number 16. Was the housing subsidized? Because she was in an emergency shelter, that would be not applicable. And that is explained in more detail in the line-by-line instructions, which I'll show you in a minute. She was also living in Alpine County. And now the next question, had the participant experienced one or more nights of homelessness between foster care and THP Plus? Well, let's say you know that Amanda was in a homeless shelter. Does that count as being homeless? So let's say you come across a question like this and you're not sure how to answer it. You're going to scroll up to the Get Help button, and that is going to be specific to this page. And as you can see, it has line-by-line instructions. We're going to scroll down to the housing questions. Okay, and it looks like it is not showing up on the demo. So but it will show up when you are logged in, and you're going to click on Get Help, and it will scroll down and say, explain to you what it means by homelessness. And it does include staying in a homeless shelter. So we will click yes. What housing model is the participant moving into? We're going to say she's in a scattered site. She's in an apartment with other non-THP Plus apartments. And she does have the option of remaining in the same housing unit after exiting this THP Plus program. Now, as we're here at the bottom of the screen, I want to draw your attention to these 3 orange buttons at the bottom. If you would like to undo any changes that you made since the last save, you're going to click on Undo Changes. If you would like to save, you click Save. And if you want to actually delete the entire participant form, you click Delete. And I'm just going to show you what happens when you do that. Are you sure you want to delete this entrance form permanently? And it says, note that the participant record will also be permanently deleted. So in other words, this would erase, it's like throwing Amanda Jones's file into the shredder, and that is not what I meant to do. So I'm going to click cancel. This would only be applicable if you filled out all these questions and then you said, you know, I just filled all of these out wrong. I'm just going to start over again. In that case, actually, the easiest thing would just be to do undo changes. Then what we're going to do is click on next page, which saves the changes and goes on to the next page. And as you'll see now, we're on the employment and income category of the entrance form. So again, all these questions are about point in time. When Amanda Jones entered this THP Plus program, what was her status? So employment, we know that she's actually seeking employment right now. So she has no hourly wage. The way it is right now, this blank screen means is a default for unknown. It doesn't actually mean $0. So if you know that she has no wage, you're going to enter 0 in that box. She is currently not receiving any public benefits. She is receiving some financial support from a mentor, actually. So we're going to click on that. And we know that she's getting about $100 a month from that mentor. So we're going to put that in there for the total monthly income from all sources. Again, if it's 0, you want to actually write in 0 in that box. And then we're going to click on next page. And again, it saves the changes and brings us to the next form. This is questions about education and training status. So we know that right now she is actually attending she just received her high school diploma, but she's not in any other program right now. She's never attended vocational training, and she's never attended any kind of military, Job Corps, Conservation Corps, or AmeriCorps program. Then we're going to click on next page, and this is the additional information tab. We know that when she entered the program, she does not have any kind of checkings account, savings account, or IDA. She also does not have health insurance. We know that she should have extended Medi-Cal, but she does not at this point. She's also never been involved with the adult criminal justice system, and she's never had a criminal conviction. We do know that she does have a permanent connection, that her mentor that I previously mentioned, who gives her the financial assistance every month. And now we're at the end of this form, and we click Finished. Says our changes have been saved, and we're back at the forms page. So as you can see, it just brings us right back to the forms page. What we're next going to do is, I just want to show you one other feature here. Is, let's say you're curious, you want to create a 6-month follow-up form for Amanda, and you hover over this button. And I don't think that this is going to appear on the on your screen, but a pop-up window appears that says that you can't actually create a 6-month follow-up form until you have created an exit form. So that is built into the system, that additional validation. Now let's say you're at the end of the quarterly reporting period here. Let's say it's December 31st. So we're going to create a quarterly update form for her. And I'm going to walk you through this and just show you how quick this is. So again, here it tells you that we're at the key quarterly update data. As I said, let's say we're doing this for December 31st, so the end of this quarter. We're going to click Create. And again, you are going to be entering information that is current at the point in time of the end of the quarter. So this is going to be information, let's say it's January 1st right now. We're entering information that was current as of 12/31. And it just asks you some update questions. Is the participant a custodial parent? No, she has not become a custodial parent at this point. She actually now has a part-time job. She's earning $12 an hour. She's still not receiving public benefits. She is still continuing to receive financial support from a family member, but it's actually gone down to $50 a month because of her employment. And let's say her total monthly income at this point is $500. And we're going to say, go to the next page. And now we're on the education and training screen again. Same questions. At this point, she's actually attending a 2-year community college part-time, and her vocational and other training status has not changed. We're going to go on to the next page. And in terms of the additional information, she does now have a savings account. She has her THP Plus Emancipation account, so that's yes. She also now has been connected with Medi-Cal, and she has not been involved with the adult criminal justice system at all. And she does continue to have a permanent connection. So at this point, we are now finished with the quarterly update form. So that was, as you can see, it's been, that is a very quick process for entering that data. Have you gotten any questions so far? Like, should I stop now and do some? Okay. So as you can see now, we're brought back to the forms page, and you can see that we've entered the entrance form and the quarterly update form. And again, the quarterly update form is going to be completed at the end of each quarter, within 15 days after the end of the quarter. And as you can see, it's a pretty basic, straightforward form. I also want to show you here how to complete an exit form so that you can just get a visual of what each form looks like. And again, this is going to be completed at the point that the participant has exited the program. So let's say that she's actually exited the program on March 10th, 2009. We're going to click Create. Now it will show, it brings us to the basic exit form. It tells us the date of exit from this THP Plus program. It asks us if the participant has given birth to any new children since entering THP Plus, and the answer there is no. And asks if there is a custodial parent, if Amanda Jones is a custodial parent. Again, the answer is no, so we're going to leave that blank. We're going to go on to the next page. The housing screen asks some questions that are specific, again, to the exit form. Has the participant experienced any homelessness since entering THP Plus? And that is no. She's been in her affordable housing with supportive services since entering the program. Her exit from THP Plus was voluntary. She reached the end of she was able to identify another apartment to move out into, and that was her choice. She is actually, so she's not going to be staying in the same housing unit, even though she did have that choice. And she will be renting her own apartment and paying rent. And now it asks if this apartment is subsidized. And again, you can go to the Get Help to have an explanation of what subsidized entails. And in this case, yes, actually, she's going to be moving into an affordable housing development. And so her rent is going to be only $400 a month. And now we're going to go to the next page. This next page asks, at exit from this THP Plus program, information about her employment status. At this point, she's actually increased her employment. She's still part-time by this category, but she's actually employed 30 hours a week. And she is, she's gone up to $13 an hour. And she is no longer receiving financial support because she has increased her hours and wages at work. And we're going to say that her monthly income is now $1,000 a month. We're going to the next page. And again, it asks about her educational and training status. She's continuing to attend two-year community college part-time. She is not attending vocational training, and she's not attending Job Corps, the military, Conservation Corps, or AmeriCorps. So we're going to click on the next page. Now, when this participant exits the THP Plus program, does she have a checking account, savings account, or IDA? Yes. Her THP Plus Emancipation Fund has been set up for her, and she's going to be leaving with those funds and with her own savings account. She continues to have health insurance. She has not been involved with the adult criminal justice system at all since entering this THP Plus program. She continues to have a connection with a permanent adult. And now you'll notice questions 26 through 30 are new. These are specific to the point in time when the participant is exiting the program. Is the participant receiving services or treatment for mental health needs? And you click yes, no, or unknown. Is she receiving treatment or services for substance abuse? You click yes, no, or unknown. Same question about a learning or educational disability, a developmental disability, or a physical disability. And then that's the end of the exit form, and you click Finished, and it confirms that those changes have been saved, excuse me. Now, let's say that it's been 6 months since Amanda exited the program, and you realize that it's time to create a 6-month follow-up form. But you are unable to reach Amanda. Her cell phone has been disconnected. You can't reach her. Her email has changed, and you try all of your different sources, and you're unable to track her down. So I just want to point out what you can do here. You go back to the participant form, and you go to question number 5. Is the participant unable to be located and lost to follow-up? And you click there, and then you click Save. And that means that down the line it will not show up as an outstanding or overdue form that still needs to be completed. It'll show that that participant was unable to be tracked down. Now, of course, if you are able to connect with her again, you will unclick that button, and then you can complete the follow-up forms as needed. I also want to point out that if at any point you want to print out any of these forms, either completed or not completed, all you have to do is go to the File, Print button on your browser, or just the regular Print button. Now, since we are done entering all of this data and we're done with this session, you want to make sure to click Log Off. And it's going to confirm, are you sure it's okay to leave this page? And it is, because we know that we've saved our changes, so we're going to click OK. And it says, thank you for using the data system, and we're now logged out. So in order to access the system again, we would need to log in again with our password. So now what I want to do is share information about some additional features that will be available for you by the beginning of the year. Oh, okay. Okay. There's a few questions that we've received that are very specific to the demonstration that I just did, so I'm going to take some of those questions now, and then we will go into discussing the summary reports. And please feel free to continue to submit your questions by clicking on the question and answer arrow, typing in your question, and clicking send, because we will continue to take questions after this segment as well. One question was, what is the CWS CMS ID number? And if we assign a number in the program, do we enter that number? That's a very good question. The CWS CMS ID number is a unique identifier that is assigned to children and youth in the child welfare system through the case management system. And so this is not any number that is assigned by the THP Plus program. This is a number that is connected to the public child welfare system. So if you have that information, you enter it there, and that will allow additional analysis in the future if we want to be able to compare data that is happening with THP Plus with that CWS CMS ID number related to the participants' situation in foster care. But no, that is not, if you don't know it, you just leave it blank and you don't enter any of your identifying information. Another good question was about monthly income. It says, the question is, do we enter the average monthly income that this participant has had over the course of the last 3 months, or is it a point in time? A lot of youth's income vary a lot from month to month. That is a very good question. This is a point-in-time snapshot. So if Amanda Jones is making $15 an hour on December 31st, you write $15 an hour. Even if on December 30th she was making $14 an hour, or she was not employed for 29 or 30 of the 31 days if she was unemployed and then got employed on the 31st, you enter the information that was current as of the 31st, the last day of the quarter. or at the point of entrance, etc. So that's very important. It's definitely based on the point in time information. Another question is from a provider that's been using paper forms, which is great, and it says, do we have to enter all that data into the online system, and starting with what date? For those of you that mailed us your paper forms by the deadline at the beginning of November, we will be entering those forms into the system. For those of you who have been completing data forms but didn't mail those to us, then you will be responsible for entering all of that data in when you get your login and password. And you will be doing that based on all participants that were in the system as of September 30th of 2008. You want to make sure that you have an entrance form for them and a quarterly form for them if you were doing the paper forms. Now, if you do not have that information up until now, and you're just starting the system totally fresh, you will just start entering data as is current as of 12/31/08. And again, it will be all participants that are in the system, in the program at that point. You want to make sure to have an entrance form for them, because as you saw, that provides the basic overview of the status of the participant, as was the case when they entered the program, and then the quarterly update form for that particular date, 12/31/08. Okay, we're now going to talk a little bit about the reporting module, which is going to be available by the end of the year. And so, as you know, this is going to be rolled out in 2 stages. Right now has been the data collection and data entry stage. And then once we have, I'm seeing that you all are not seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. Okay, so we're now back on the presentation. So I wanted to let you know we're we're going to be having summary reports available for you by the end of the year, which will provide you with some really interesting data. So at this point, what we're doing is asking people to enter data. Once data is entered into the system, we're going to have these reports available to you. And as with the rest of the system, the type of information you can enter or access is based on your user access level. So providers will be able to create reports based on participants in their program, and counties will be able to view all reports for contracted providers in that particular county. And users will be able to export data into Excel or compatible format to do additional analysis. And we will also announce an additional online training just to provide an overview of that functioning when that becomes available. So let's talk about what those reports are going to include. They're going to include descriptive data such as the age breakdown of participants, the % of participants that are parenting, the housing model, and what their housing was prior to THP+. So we can see how many participants are coming directly from foster care, how many were homeless right before THP+, how many were living in their own apartment, answering those kinds of questions. Outcome data is also going to be available on the reports, and it will include a summary of progress from entrance to exit and from program exit to the follow-up. And some of those indicators are going to include the % of participants that showed improvement in employment status, improvement in educational status, and improvement in wages. And again, this information for providers, you'll be able to see all of these reports in a very straightforward way for your participants. And at the same time, the counties where in which you have a contract will also be able to see these reports. So it's going to make it also easier for them to be able to monitor the program and for you to have an ongoing dialogue with them about the status of your program. So let's talk about what happens after this training is complete. As I said, those of you who have completed a use agreement and have received a training are going to receive a login and a password via email within the next week. at our regular website, thpplus.org, we'll have available a user manual, and then we will also be mailing the manual to each user agency before the end of the year. You want to make sure to complete, if you have any entrance forms for participants who have entered in this quarter, you want to make sure to enter those as well into the system. And then between January 1st and January 15th, you want to complete quarterly forms for all participants. Now this is true even if you have a participant who enters the program on December 29th. You want to complete an entrance form for them, and then you want to do a quarterly update form for them as well by January 15th, based on information that is current as of December 31st. And then we really encourage you to provide us with suggestions, feedback, questions as you start to use the system. That will be really, really helpful to us. And we will continue to announce trainings on the reports, and we'll continue to provide updated information on the THP Plus website. So now let's talk about the type of training and support mechanisms that we have here for you at the John Burton Foundation. After we've completed this training, this will be available on our website, thpplus.org, for download. Every screen, as I saw, has a Get Help option, which really walks you through both what the purpose of that page is, as well as really line-by-line instructions for how to complete that form. We've also worked very hard with Josh to try to create this as a system that is as intuitive as possible, so that it's as straightforward as possible. As I said, the user manual will be available on the website. We will be developing a frequently asked questions at the thpplus.org website. And if you have questions that you feel like are just not being answered by any of those support mechanisms, we also are going to have staff available Monday through Thursday between 10 and 4. And that's kind of our general availability to answer questions. It doesn't mean that we will be able to respond within a minute or 5 minutes, but we say within about 24 hours we're going to be trying to get back to you in response to your questions about the system. And again, I do encourage you to look at both the help screens as well as the user manual to try to address your questions as well, because we have done our best to try to anticipate what those are in advance. At this point, I'd like to now open it up for additional questions that we haven't already answered. And I see right now one of them is, what are some strategies that programs might use to track down youth after a year to fill out the follow-up form? And a couple of suggestions there is to collect multiple forms of contact information on the young people as they're exiting the program. You want to have their phone, their email, their mailing address, as well as contact information for at least 2 adults that the young person knows. So not just other participants in the program, but relatives, mentors, other people who are most likely going to be staying in contact with the youth. That's the best way to try to maintain some kind of regular contact. What other providers have done as well is planning a regular alumni event. Some people do an annual holiday party. It's on the same day every year, so that no matter what, youth know that they can come to the program site and be connected again at that point. And many programs offer incentives for people to stay in touch, whether it's a gift card or come in for some pizza and stay connected with us and work with us to complete this form. That's what a lot of different programs do, so that you can stay in touch with them after they've exited the program. Another question is, what if we lose our login and password? At this point, what you want to do is contact us by either emailing us or calling us, and what we will do is reset the password at that point, and it will be resent to you. So that if it's been lost, we want to make sure that no one else has, just to protect the privacy, make sure that it's not available to other people, so we will just reset that for you. Any other questions? Anything else? If there are any other questions at this point, it looks like we've answered all of the questions that have appeared. If there's any other questions, you can definitely feel free to submit them now. we tried to do an overview of the system, as broadly as possible, and really providing you with a sense of how it works. I do encourage you, once you have your login and password, to go in and look at the system, see if you have any particular questions, look at the user manual, and really familiarize yourself with it as you move forward. Yeah, I already did. And as I said, there's also going to be additional trainings available for the reports, and that will be announced later this month, so that you can enter that data. I also just want to take a moment to just thank very much everyone at the John Burton Foundation, Josh Senyak, for developing this program, our partners at DSS and at CSH, and all of the stakeholders both within the counties and the providers who really have helped us to develop the system, who have provided ongoing feedback, and have helped us to figure out what is going to be making it the most functional. What if they can't get an answer? They should still do it, right? Another question here is, what happens if we cannot get the data entered by January 15th, by the deadline? We still encourage you to enter it even if you are entering it late. We are asking you to enter it at that point because it's going to allow for ongoing data analysis and also allow for quarterly updates on the status of the program. But it is so the January 15th is something that we're working very hard for as a deadline, but we do encourage you to continue to enter information even if it is past that point. Oh, another question is, for youth that exited the program before the system was live, should that data be entered into the system? And the answer is no. Data should only be entered into the system for youth that are, if you were completing the paper forms, that was for youth that were in the program as of September 30th. If you are just starting it now, you want to complete entrance forms and quarterly update forms for youth that are in the system as of December 31st.
So if they enter it in June, they have all this information.
Just as a clarification in terms of the entrance forms, you want to enter that information as it was current when they entered the program. So if you had a participant that entered in June and they are still in the program, you want to complete an entrance form based on their status at program entrance, and then again a quarterly update form as was current on that date. I think so. Josh, are the reports for counties and providers the same?
Oh, hold on. I actually don't remember what the county is county-wide.
Oh, I think that's right. It's county-wide. But, Okay. Another question is about the reports, if those are the same for the counties and for the providers. So counties are going to be able to look at the data that is true across the county with the same data elements that is being collected at the provider level. And then the providers, as I said, will only be able to look at the report information that is specific for their particular youth in their particular program. Another question is, will we automatically get a login and password just from attending this webinar? If your agency has submitted a signed use agreement and you were attending this web seminar, then you will get a login. Your agency will get one login and password, and it will be sent to the primary contact person that has been identified for the THP Plus program. So in some cases, that is the person. In some cases, the person attending the web seminar is not the primary person that we have as the contact, and that is who will the primary person will receive the login and password within the next week. And if you do not receive that, or if you have questions about who is going to be receiving that, definitely feel free to send us an email and we can clarify that with you. I'm muting it so you can just tell me.
Yeah, so this one